You've probably heard the term self-fulfilling prophecy, and social psychologists in particular look very carefully at the role that how we define ourselves and our capabilities can have a huge impact on us. Of course, the same can be said for other people. So there's a very strong view, and research clearly indicates that we rise and fall according to the expectations that we perceive, and certainly the expectations we perceive of ourselves. And this has a great impact on the psychological side of GLP-1. Hi, my name is Fritz Erickson. I'm a professor of psychological sciences at Northern Michigan University, and I, along with our research team, have been studying hundreds of GLP-1 users and the psychological sides of GLP-1. And this channel is all about sharing some of the things that we have learned. It's quite simple. If we define ourselves as incapable, we're not going to do it. I mean, I pretty much can guarantee when you were 5 years old, you were a brilliant artist. We know that because your parents put your pictures on refrigerators. They commented how great your art was. You know, for so many people, that's a big part of growing up. And yet something happened along the way where most of us define ourselves as incapable of doing art, or incapable of doing music, or incapable of doing math, or incapable of losing weight. And so much of the GLP-1 journey is about defining ourselves as being capable. And one of the things we've seen in so many of the stories that we've read and analyzed has been a change in attitude that with the GLP-1, I define myself as now capable of losing weight. I'm going to do a whole nother thing on, the role of motivations and so forth. But this is a central part of what we do. If we want to be successful in the GLP-1, we have to define ourselves as being capable. And we know that success breeds success. And there's a lot of people that believe that we learn from our failures. But when it comes to weight loss, most of us have gained and lost and gained and lost and spent years and years gaining and losing. And so defining ourselves as capable of this being successful and having success early on with the GLP-1 can be very important. So define yourself as being capable of doing this, of saying to yourself, yes, I can do it. And if you get off, if you're a slow starter, we saw several stories about people who maybe lost a pound or two in the first several weeks. It didn't just start falling off. And months later, they lost lots of weight. Read a story about a young woman who got on this with high expectations that she was going to lose a lot of weight and it was going to come off and her life was going to be great. And 6, 7 weeks into it, she had defined this as not going to work. But for whatever reason in her, she kept with it. And then over the next 5 months, she lost 50 pounds. Pretty amazing. And she wouldn't have done that if she would have stopped and defined herself as incapable of losing weight. So define yourself as you can. And while it may sound trite, the can-do attitude is hugely important with GLP-1s. I hope you enjoy your GLP-1 journey. Hope you enjoy it as much as I have.